If I could do it all again, I think a couple things I would do differently is just stay with the guys that I trust. I think once you find somebody that you know is honest and you know you can trust their experience and their process, and then I would just have the patience to stick with it. I think it's easy to get antsy and start looking around for who's going to be a little bit cheaper. Can I save, $100 over here? And so you get a little antsy and start looking around. But if you know you can trust the guys you're working with, then I would just have the patience to stay with it. My name's Spencer Henry. My business is AG47. My partner and I, we've just started in the real estate business here in Southern Oregon 4 or 5 years ago. We decided we wanted to build a warehouse, get into the commercial space, and was our first time trying it. We found a lot that was for sale in a good location here in Medford, so we went down the path with them to do the build for us as well. The design process was fairly painless. It was pretty easy to work with them. We went through that whole design and engineering and kind of permitting process. But ultimately, we started getting a little nervous on the price side. It felt like when we were getting to that point, some of the material costs price were kind of going up at the time. The steel cost was going up, and we just started getting a little nervous what the overall cost was going to end up being. And so we decided to shop around at that point on who we were going to use to finish the build, and found some other guys that we felt like were going to give us a lower cost to build, and so we decided to go with them. And so we ended up having the other contractors build the project. But at the end of the day, a bunch of different things happened during the build that ended up running the cost up. And all said and done, we ended up spending more money, quite a bit more money than the bid was from JB Still to build, than what I think we would have ended up spending with JB Still. I think we would have been closer to the initial cost projection. So, ultimately we had conversations with Russ throughout the process even, and at the end, and we told Russ right away we wish we would have, even during the process, we told him we wish we would have stayed with him. But by that point, we're down the path with the other guys. One of the things that happened during the build process was the excavation and backfill that needed to happen. So we ended up having to go down 12 feet on a lot of the building footprint. And so that the timeline to do that and the cost to pull out all that material and backfill ended up adding a lot as a significant cost that came to us from that. And I think that what we've kind of found out after the fact was that I think JB Still had already built that into the equation. Based on their experience, they knew what they were going to be dealing with and had planned for that. And the other contractors, I don't think were aware of what they were going to have to deal with. And so it ended up costing us a lot more money because of that. From our side, I think we didn't know what we didn't know. We were new. We didn't necessarily understand all those things. And so I look at it and feel like we just needed to be working with a company that was direct with us and upfront, and was going to be honest with us all along the way. I feel like if we had been able to trust the price that we were told it was going to be, then we would have been okay. But I think ultimately the other guys we were working with didn't have the experience to understand that, and so the cost just all fell onto us when those issues came up. But I think JB Still would have just dealt with it, and I think they were aware going into it, so it wouldn't have been as much of an issue. But ultimately, I think communication is just huge. JB Still was communicating more openly with us during our experience with them, and I don't think that same communication was in place with the other guys.